Welcome everyone. I hope you enjoyed that video of my time at the Bruce Peninsula National Park. This is the first time that I've ever gone solo camping. I like to go hiking and I like to take my time. I don't want to feel like I'm being rushed, or I don't want to feel like I have to slow down. I like just going at my own pace, which for a lot of people is a bit faster than the people that have been around in my life. So solo camping, I would recommend. So I went from September 14th to the 16th, so a Monday to Wednesday, and it was the Bruce Peninsula National Park, but more specifically, the campsite that I chose was the Cypress Lake campground. I went for 2 nights, and for those 2 nights, it cost me about $67.50. Honestly, if I were to go back to this park, I think I would choose the Cypress Lake campground again. It was extremely beautiful. It had access to the water, which was like 5 minutes away, and it also had access to the trailheads, which were like 10 minutes away, which was really convenient. Because I went during the week instead of on a weekend, it was a lot quieter. There were about 6 campsites around me, and only 2 of those campsites were taken. So I had 1 family and 1 couple beside me, so I had a lot of privacy in that sense. I cannot stress it enough. If you have the chance, go weekday camping. It's just night and day, so you get to enjoy and immerse yourself more in your surroundings if there are less people. I, for one, view camping as a way to get away from people, and so it kind of doesn't really make sense for me to go camping and then just be surrounded by like 20 people because they're out with their families or they're out with their friends. So, but that's just me. Next question is, what was there to do? So there were 3 things that I did. There was Horse Lake Trail, Cypress Lake Trail, and the Grotto. So a Horse Lake Trail, according to All Trails, is an out and back trail, but honestly, once you reach the end, it's kind of actually does turn into a loop because it connects with other trails that actually bring you back to the trailhead. So in that sense, it is a loop trail. And honestly, if you reach the end, you're going to find that you're probably just going to continue on with the next trail because it does loop back and it is incredibly beautiful. But talking about Horse Lake Trail specifically, it was really nice. There was nobody around, and the trees were surrounding it were incredibly gorgeous. Because of the time of the year that I went, the leaves were beginning to change and they were beginning to show a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, and some trees a little bit red. It was so beautiful. Because there were less people there were a lot more birds coming around. You can hear them singing, you can hear them doing their little bird stuff. It was really nice. But the real shining star of it is once you reach the end and you reach the water, the beach area. I remember walking out of the trail, which is kind of like this forest. You walk out and then boom, the water is right there. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. You got all these beautiful white rocks along the shore, and you can kind of see like different islands across the water. I would recommend it for anyone. It's easy for beginners. People who have been hiking for a really long time, they're gonna enjoy it too. So yeah, it's fun for the whole family. The next trail was the Cypress Lake Trail. Now this one was much longer because it encompasses all of Cypress Lake. The trail is so close to the lake itself that you're always going to have views of the lake, and it's incredibly peaceful and just lovely. There's views everywhere. There's nothing to complain about. And because again, there was nobody really at this campsite, there was like nobody on the trail. I got to a point where I was like, I haven't seen anyone in like 2 hours. This is kind of creepy a little bit.
I haven't seen a single person on this trail. No one.
But then eventually you just kind of get used to it, and you kind of begin to more immerse yourself into the sounds of the water and the trees and the birds. It got really windy. You can kind of hear it in the video. I did have to reduce the sound a little bit on those clips because it was beginning to get a lot. Like my hat in some cases felt like it was about to just fly off, and I was really worried that it was going to just go fly off into the lake and never to be brought back again. But yeah, that was the Cypress Lake Trail. Also super easy to navigate. I would highly recommend it to everyone as well. So the third thing wasn't exactly a trail, but it is connected to trails, and it is probably the most popular part of the entire park, which is the grotto. The best way that I can describe it is kind of like a crevice in between the cliffs. And it was a great place for people to kind of just sit down and enjoy themselves and possibly enjoy the water if they were brave enough to endure the freezing cold. And I mean freezing cold. Like, I put my feet in the water as I show you in the video, but man, I could not sit in that for very long. Like, I tried moving my feet to kind of warm my feet up and get them used to it, but that was just not working for me at all.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
This was definitely the most popular area of the park. There were a lot of families, there were a lot of dogs and couples. I can't imagine what it would be like during the weekend. It would probably just be packed with people. If you're like me and you kind of enjoy kind of just being on your own, you can go along the trails a little bit more, and there's a trail that goes along the cliffside, so you can actually kind of find a little bit more privacy in that sense, which is what I did. What did I bring for camping gear? I have my MSR Hubba NX for one person. I really do like the quality of this tent. I've been using it for a couple months now. I've used it in the rain, wind. I haven't had any problems with it. No water has leaked through. It's never been damp in the morning. So it's been really nice. One of the biggest questions that people often ask me is, how do you have enough space to do anything? And my answer is usually like, I don't have a lot of stuff that I bring. So for me, it's kind of just doesn't make sense to bring like 3 pairs of clothing each for only 2 nights, and so I have a lot of space in my tent actually. Like, the only things that I really need are my sleeping bag, pad, and pillow. That's pretty much it. The only issue that I have with this tent though is that it doesn't really compress into a smaller size where I can put into my bag. Right now it kind of just has to sit or hang on the side of my backpack, which I'd rather not have. Let's say I'm backcountry camping at some point and it begins to rain, then that means that my tent is wet, and I don't want that to happen, but it's not really that big of a deal because I can usually just cover it with something. So not a huge deal. So anyway, moving on. Next up is my sleeping bag, or actually my quilt. It's from UGQ, a producer in the United States, and it did cost me a pretty penny to get, but honestly the quality is just really nice. It's kept me warm. I've used it in a video that's coming up a little bit later, and that was, I slept in negative, I think 3 degrees. I wasn't entirely sure, but it was very, very cold, and the sleeping bag kept me really warm all through the night. The next thing that I have on my list is my Thermarest Neo Air Ultralight Sleeping Pad, which is extremely easy to use, and honestly, it's been pretty cozy sleeping on it. You just gotta simply blow into it, and you're good to go. The next thing I have is my Climate Inflatable Pillow. So this took me a little getting used to, mostly because it was really small, and also on the pad, it kind of moves around a lot. For my food, I have my Jetboil Minimo and my 2 MSR ISO Pro 4-ounce fuel canisters. This has been really convenient for cooking up dry meals and boiling up water for coffee. What's also really nice about it is that it's kind of small, pretty compact, and can fit into my bag and boils water pretty quickly. I have my Sawyer Mini water filter and pouch for hikes when I don't have access to clean water. I put this filter to use in dirty lake water and even from swamp water, and it's actually been really, really good. I have not tasted any kind of like dirt or any kind of like weird taste from it, so it's been actually really, really nice. My next question is, what did I use to film? For all of my films, I've been using my Fujifilm X-T2 with an 18 to 55 millimeter lens. It's kind of an oldish camera. It's not really meant for video. Like right now, it's like burning through the batteries right now, so it's kind of a bummer in that sense. What I use for audio is my Roary mic mini. All the audio that you've heard from my videos has been from this mic. It provides pretty good audio. The only issue with it is that it doesn't really reach very far, and it kind of captures audio all around it instead of just what's right in front of it. Another piece of equipment that I just recently bought was my DJI Mavic Air 2, my drone, which has been really, really fun to use. This is my first drone, and I'm honestly was super surprised with how easy it was to use. I don't use it in the parks, which is not allowed. And so for me, I used to use my drone along the way and coming back home. I like to use Google Maps while I'm driving, and then I keep an eye on it to see if I find anything that might be of interest. So if there's a big lake coming up on the side of the road or something like that, I'll tend to pull over and take out the drone and then just do some surveying around the area, find a nice spot, and then start filming. Kind of creates this really beautiful, vast shots of the surrounding area of the park. And that is about all I have to say about the experience that I had at the Bruce Peninsula National Park and the gear that I used to film it. Thank you so much for watching my film, and I hope you stick around for my next one. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.